Shalom, Israel, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly called Jesus the Christ, whose name in the Paleo Hebrew is Mashiach Yahushua, brother LAMAK, out of the Servants Assembly. And I'm coming with another exhortation. I named this lesson, Remember Thy First Love, man. Because a lot of times we come into this truth and we get used to it, we get accustomed to it. We start to forget what got us to the point that we're at, to the point to be able to have a spiritual mind state and to be able to teach others, man. You know, we wind up being unprofitable to ourselves because we don't continue to do the things that made us who we are until this day. And this is for anybody that's new, that's coming into this truth, to make sure that you, whatever it took to get you where you are, however the Most High had to wake you up, make sure that you keep those same principles and those same routines in order to stay in, right? So we're going to start off with the book of Sirach, chapter 8 and verse 9. It reads, "Miss not the discourse of the elders, for they also learned from their fathers, and of them thou shalt learn understanding, and to give answer as need required." Right? So don't miss the discourse of elders. Anybody that came into this truth had someone bring them into this truth, right? We came up under eldership. Even those that's individualites learned these precepts and learned how to teach, chiefly from elders that was teaching on the highways and hedges, whether they like to believe it or not. Everything has a beginning and everything has an end. So the Most High is saying through the prophet Sirach to miss not the discourse of the elders, for they also learn from their fathers. So what does that tell you? That the Most High, He requires that which is past. He requires the old thing, for you to go back to the old, to go back to what's good and what's acceptable to Him, right? And to not think too much of yourselves, right? So from that, we're going to get the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 32. The book of John, chapter 8 and verse 32. It reads, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." So what's the first principles that you come into when you're awoken to this faith, when you're awoken to the understanding? You're awoken to the truth. The truth is the main component that wakes you up. You understand Deuteronomy 28 and 68. You understand that there's a separation between us and the Egyptians. You understand that we're the people that came over on cargo slave ships. You also have the understanding of your northern kingdom that you were also being taken to another land and in captivity at the same time that we was coming over. And actually, Esau was over here 200 years before Judah even came over here, right? So you have to understand that these are the principles that wakes you up, is the truth, right? It says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free," right? So that's what broke the shackles and chains off of you. The truth is what broke the shackles and chains off of us and made us to understand these certain things, right? Let's get the book of John, chapter 17 and verse 17. Just the book of John, chapter 17 and verse 17. It says, "Sanctify them through thy truth." Now, what is the truth? Thy word is the truth. So the word of God is the truth. And where do you find the word of God? You find the word of God throughout the precepts in the Bible. You find the word of God through the prophets. So now you read the word of God with an understanding. So now you have the understanding of what's the truth. And that's the first principle that you started from in this thing before you got on your on your high horse, man. You know, that's where you started, right? It says sanctify them. So who's the them? Sanctify Israel. Sanctify the lost sheep, the 12 tribes, through thy truth. The word is the truth. So what's the word? The truth is the word of God, right? So from that, let's get Psalms chapter 119 and verse 1. Now we're going to skip around on this a little bit, Israel. It's the book of Psalms chapter 119 and verse 1. It says, blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. So blessed is those that's undefiled with the customs of whatever part of the earth they're in, the customs of the heathen, the principalities, right? The different gods of these other lands. It said, blessed are thee that's undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. So what's the law? That's the commandments, right? So all 619 commandments, right? You know, to the ones that you actually do on a daily basis, right? We try to keep them to the best of our ability, but we don't do much on a daily basis. So it kind of rounds out to maybe 20 or 30 commandments that we keep throughout the day in a normal span of a day. It's not, you're not normally gonna kind of do 619 different things, you know, and run the chance of breaking a commandment, right? It says, verse 2, it says, blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with thy whole heart, right? So you got to seek him with your whole mind. They also do not do no iniquity. They walk in his ways. So they're keeping the commandments. Thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently, right? So that's another principle that we got into. We got into learning and understanding and trying our best to memorize the precepts. Because when you get the zeal and you're quickened by the Holy Spirit, the truth and the teaching that the Most High put in place is through the precepts. Those precepts is how you wake these people up. It's how you wake up the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, right? When you know, a lot of us, we get so deep into what we know, we forget what we're not still learning, if that makes any sense. Because you could know a lot of different things now. You know a lot of the Bible, but what precepts do you remember? Are you constantly keeping studying your precepts? Are you constantly in your book? Are you opening your Bible? These are things that we have to constantly do. We can't just get lax and get what's the word I'm looking for? Well, get lackadaisical. Even though that's not the word I wanted, but that's close enough. It says, oh, that my ways were directed to keep thy statutes. It says, then shall I not be ashamed when I have respect unto all thy commandments. Man, because once you know the precepts, you're able to teach. You're able to teach without fear of being confounded, without fear of not knowing. And you could kind of poke your chest out with pride because you're able to contend for the faith. That's what that's going into, right? So let's jump to verse 9. It says, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed therefore thereto according to thy word. Verse 10, it says, with my whole heart have I sought thee. Oh, let me not wander from thy commandments. So what is David praying and asking for? He's asking to not come out of this faith, to not come out of this truth, because what he knows it to be true. He's asking for the Most High to not blow his candlestick out, to keep his lamps lit, right? It says, oh, let me not wander from thy commandments. Thy word have I hid in my heart, which is my mind. So you have to hide the word of the Lord in your mind. What's the best way to hide it in there? Through thy precepts, through studying, through diligent book opening, man. Reading, doing exhortations, being a teacher, right? It says, thy word, it says, Salakia, verse 12, it says, blessed art thou, O Lord, teach me thy statutes. Now I'm going to jump, Salakia, I'm going to jump to verse 15. It says, I will meditate in thy precepts and have respect unto thy ways. So what is David saying? He's saying that he's going to meditate in thy precepts. Okay, think about in your life, when is the last time you done that? And how long have you done it? Was it last Shabbat? Was it Tuesday? When you had an hour at work? Just any kind of past time in the times of old, when coming into this truth and having an understanding and being excited, you were constantly in the book. You were constantly trying to get better and constantly be great. You should still want to be great. You should still want to continue to become great and become better. You'll never know everything that's in the Bible. You should still want to be great, man. It says, I will meditate in thy precepts and have respect unto thy ways. I will delight myself in thy statutes. I will not forget thy word. Right? Because you can learn, and you'll hear elders tell you that I've learned so much to where I've forgotten a lot of the principal things like the law. I've forgotten the Torah because I know so much of the so-called New Testament, right? I've been in the Apocrypha a lot to the point where I can't really go back and really remember a lot of the things I learned. So basically, the scriptures is telling you to meditate in those things. Let that be your pastime. It says, verse 17 says, deal bountifully with thy servant, this is David saying, that I may live and keep thy word. Verse 18, open thou mine eyes that I might behold wondrous things out of thy law. Right? So we're going to stop right there, right? So that's exactly where that's where you want to go in this thing, man. Matter of fact, let's see. I'll go to verse 27. With the book of Psalms, chapter 119, to verse 27. It says, make me to understand the way of thy precepts. So shall I talk of thy wondrous works. Because we want to be able to talk about the Most High's wondrous works. We're his witnesses. Right? We go out week in and week out as a witness to the Most High. A witness to his works. Because we read and understand and we know these certain things, man. Right? So it says, make me to understand the way of thy precepts. So shall I talk of thy wondrous works. So David wants to be able to talk that talk, without no kind of fear. You want to be able to spit them words out like fire to coal, man. And that's what you should want to do in these last days. You should want to get back to that same spirit, right? Right. So let's go to let's get a precept real quick. We're gonna get the book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse 5. Salakia Israel. The book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse 5. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. So yeah, when you depart from the Most High's precepts and his understandings, though a lot of times, man, you get in a idle state of mind. You start thinking of worldly things. Your thoughts become very impure at times. We're We're not perfect as in what the world says. Okay, we perfect to the Most High because we keep His commandments to the best of our ability. But just on a daily basis, we see and we think and we act certain ways that's not conducive to what we know, right? So that we ask for forgiveness, 24/7, man. We stay constant in prayer, man, right? Because we know that these things happen, right? So let's get the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 3 and verse 36. The book of 2nd Esdras chapter 3 and verse 36. Shalaki Israel, if I'm going too fast right now. It's the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 3 and verse 36. It says, Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So where's the so-called YT man and these other nations telling us that they've studied the precepts or whatever the case may be? The Most High never gave the precepts to these other nations. He never gave the precepts to the so-called YT man. It says, thou, who is thou? Let's start at verse 35. In verse 35, it says, 2nd Esdras 3 and 35. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Yasharallah, Israel, by name, hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So all this inconclusive about the so-called white man could stand on the line. He can't do that, man. Right? The precepts itself was given to Israel. The commandments, the law, pursuant to the book of Romans 9 and other chapters. Right? So what's another thing that we began to do when we was dealing with our first love, when we first came into this truth? What was the other thing that we was doing, right? Let's get the book of Exodus chapter 16 and verse 23. Let's go back. Let's go to the Torah. Exodus 16 and verse 23, because that was a thing that we had started doing. This is the book of Exodus chapter 16 and verse 23. And he said unto them, This that which the Lord Yahweh had said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay over Salakia, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. Right? So the Most High gave us a decree through the prophet Moses to keep the Sabbath day, and whatever we cook, lay it up for the next day, for when the Sabbath comes in, for that next Sabbath morning. Verse 24, it says, and they laid it up till the morning as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. Right? So the bread was kept fresh, and the food. Verse 25, it says, and Moses says, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Most High. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it. So that's your prep week. You got 6 days to prep everything for your Sabbath, man. Stop making the Lord's Sabbath grievous. That's one of the first things that we start going off on. We start making the Lord's Sabbath. The Most High gave you 6 days to gather up everything that you're going to need for the Shabbat. There should be no reason why you should be the last minute in the kitchen, frying up chicken, burning your damn hand, knocking over the pot, fussing at the children, doing God knows what, trying to prepare for the Shabbat when you have 6 days. It says 6 days ye shall gather it. But on the 7th day, which is the Shabbat Saturday, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. Alright? We'll go ahead and go to verse 27. It says, and it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that the Lord had given you the Sabbath. So the Most High gave us the Sabbath. We didn't give the Sabbath to the Lord. The Most High gave us a rest day. He don't need no rest. Therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So you chief man, you're supposed to be running around. You're not supposed to have to go out for nothing. You're supposed to get everything in for that 6 days for the Shabbat, because it's a special day unto the Lord, man. Let's see here. Alright, let's get another precept on that. Let's get Exodus 20 and 8. Right? Because Israel, man, a lot of us, man, and I say us, is that we like to try to cut corners on the Shabbat. You understand? We want to start cutting corners. Down there still cooking during the Sabbath. You know, you're outside and you're looking at the sky and you're trying to see, is it getting dark? Is the sun still up? You shouldn't have to do all of that on that Friday. You should already have all of this stuff through the week, so that Friday evening you're not rushing to get work to set up the Shabbat. And I'm guilty of that. But this exhortation is for me, and it's for everybody else too that's still going through this. You know, it has nothing to do with you know, brothers just trying to shoot brothers and sisters down. But you know, we got to do better in these days, man. We got to go back to the old ways, man. The ways when we were excited about this truth, man. Let's get the book of Exodus chapter 20 and 8, the classic. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Shabbat of the Lord, Yahweh. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor the cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So your slaves, your servants, your children, your daughters. You know, you got Israel talking about, oh man, well, you know, my daughter, she's just 13 years old. She can't go without eating. She'll tear up the house. But guess what? She's going to have to get it together, because it's the Shabbat of the Lord. This has nothing to do with being hard on them. But hey, you can't spare the rod on them, man. As long as they're in your house, they're going to keep the law and keep the commandments. They have to keep the Shabbat. Oh, it's the Day of Atonement, you know what I'm saying? We could do it, but you know, we leave a little something up there. We leave some fruit at least for them. Look! You gotta keep the commandments, man. You gotta do it to the best of your ability, man. You can't be out here trimming your ways for your children, trimming your ways for your wife, right? These things, hey, look, man, you might as well just don't keep it yourself. Alright, so this is the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Well, I'll start at verse 9. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt do any work, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy maidservant, nor thy manservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Most High made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Right? So the Most High hallowed this day. This day wasn't recorded by the children of Israel for Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. This day the Most High gave us in all our captivities. Any captivity that we was in, really everybody except for the so-called YT man allowed us to keep our Shabbats. The Greeks didn't let us. If you go into the Inquisition, which was during the Dark Ages in the beginning of the Renaissance, the Romans stopped letting us and started kicking us out of Europe, okay, and taking us into captivity and making Inquisition on us. So really, just about every other nationality, if my memory serves me well, allowed us to keep our Shabbat, and that was our day of rest from captivity. I believe even the Egyptians allowed us to keep it, right? So let's get from there. Let's get Exodus 31 and 13. Right? And once again, the lesson is to remember thy first love. So this is everything that was from the beginning that we must go back to in order to continue to endure and be strong in this truth, right? It's the book of Exodus chapter 31 and verse 13. Speak thou also unto the children of Yasharallah, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. So aren't we still generating? Every couple of years is a new generation, right? We are the people of this generation. This scripture says generations. So even up until now, we still have to keep the Sabbath day. We cannot come into these days in willy-nilly, because the Most High will sweep you off your feet, man. You cannot be willy-nilly. The Most High said throughout your generations, right? It says that ye may know that I am the Lord that doeth sanctify you. The Most High sanctifies us. He is the one that keeps us safe, man. He's the one that protects us. The police don't protect you. The army don't protect you. The Most High is in the minds of the kings, right? And all these different people, roughly paraphrasing, right? It says, verse 13. It says, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Salakia, I already read that. I'll read verse 14. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore. So why keep the Sabbath? Why? For it is holy unto you. So it's a separate, holy, sanctioned thing for just us, for just his people, for his chosen people, pursuant to the book of 2 Ezra chapter 6 and 54, and 1 Peter 2 and 9, and a number of other precepts. It says, Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. And you wondering why pastor such and such, or brothers that know to keep the Sabbath on the Shabbat, you wonder why they come up and they fall out the truth, or they wind up somewhere jammed up, or the Most High give them a wicked woman and have her running all over him and stepping all over him and trying to force him to just do some lewdness so that she could just bust on him, man. At the end of the day, man, us that keep the Sabbath day, the Most High said he'll protect us. But if you defile it, you shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. It says 6 days may work be done. But in the 7th day, the Shabbat, is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death, man. Okay, so it's a little bit more than just being unclean until the evening. Because the Most High can put you to death in a lot of different ways. He can make you brain dead to this truth. He could take away all of your wisdom and understanding. Or he could take your spirit away. And your physical. Right? So let's go ahead and move on, right? So what's another thing that we did at the beginning? We studied real hard, man. It was very important for us to get together, or even separate, I remember when I came in, man, I used to study on the Shabbat from the time the Shabbat came in to the time the Shabbat went out. That's all I did. I didn't say nothing to nobody or nothing, because I was excited, right? And the Holy Spirit was in me, and it's still in me. But you need to make sure that you go back to some of those things, man. Go back to when you used to, a brother said years ago, when you was in college, when you was in high school, right? You studied to get those grades, man. You put in all-nighters, man. You took all kind of pills and no dose. You did all these different things, man, to study so that you can get that good grade, man. How much more the Most High? How much more His Word? How much more work should you be doing for the Most High if you could do all that for the YT man? You know, that's something to really think about. How much work do you do for Esau either? But you don't do not even a fraction of that for the Most High. Oh man, I'm just gonna go out on the Shabbat. Oh man, I'm just gonna study because it's the Shabbat. But what about Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday? You had at least 6 hours in between that day to do about a good 20-minute reading, right? If you didn't have nothing to go into, you could call a brother up and see what he had to go into, right? So, you know, in these last days, man, we can't be making no excuses, man, for the Most High, man. We got to remember the old ways, man, the ways that got us here, man, right? So let's get the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15, the classic. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. This is the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Right? So what does it mean to rightly divide the word of truth, man? When you're given a question, you're supposed to be able to go to the precept, and then you're supposed to be able to connect those precepts in order to give the person you're teaching an understanding of it. Even if you just know 2 or 3 precepts, get you some precepts that you can conjoin, that you may use them every time, but eventually you'll build onto those precepts and you'll build onto those other precepts, right? So get yourself 2 or 3 precepts that you can build on to help build with your sisters and brothers when you're out there in the highways and hedges. And you sisters, when you teaching the other daughters and you teaching the children at home, you don't have to know every precept all the time, but you'll eventually build onto it. It says, study to show thyself approved. The Most High requires you to show Him something. We learned from our Christian pastor that we didn't have to do nothing. We didn't have to show the Most High nothing. All we had to do was say that we believe, but what do you believe in? What is it? What is that thing that you believe in? You say that you're not sinning, but do you know what sin is? So you can't say that you're not sinning if you don't know what sin is. You're doing what you want to do and you really don't understand that. And that's going to lead to your destruction. It says, study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, not nobody else. Prove yourself to the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. Because if you working and you know you're doing a good job, that's just like if you're a brick mason and you laying those bricks up and you take a step back and look at your work, you say, damn, I did a good job. You're a workman that needed not to be ashamed. You know that you're putting in that work, because if you're studying and you falling out during the day because you've been studying all night, hey, you know you did some good work, man. So the Lord says, study to show thyself approved, a workman needeth not to be ashamed, because through thy studying, He's rightly dividing the word of truth, right? Now let's get 1 Peter chapter 3 and the 15th verse. The book of 1 Peter I'm saying First Peter's. I don't know. There's only one. It's the book of First Peter, chapter 3, and verse 15. It says, "But sanctify the Lord Yahweh in your hearts. Your heart is your mind, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh." So what is that? So what does that studying do? What is that showing thyself approved? What does it do? It makes you ready always to give an answer to every man and woman that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and in fear. Because when you're out teaching, the first question you're going to get is, why are you out here? Who are you? Who are these people? Why are they following you? Why are they why are they reading for you? Why are they doing all of these things? You know, who is Yahweh? All these different things. When you study to show thyself approved, you'll be able to give these answers, and with meekness and fear. Because if you're meek, then you're not just gonna blabber anything out your mouth. You're gonna speak what you know. Don't get out there just trying to speak what you think you know. Speak what you know. Get out there, speak what you know with meekness and fear, because you're fearful that you're gonna say the wrong thing. You're fearful that they're not gonna say the right thing, or you're gonna confuse or confound yourself. That's the fear of the Lord. And be meek at the same time, because hey, you start getting jazzy and you out there just running your mouth, hey, the Most High and the angels hear that. Oh man, this man out here just doing it for filthy lucre, man. He ain't out there rightly dividing the word of the Most High with meekness and in fear. He just out there, you know what I'm saying, with a big old gold menorah on his neck. That's not gonna get it done right there, right? So let's jump from that. Let's go back. Let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 15. Slakia Israel, if I'm moving too fast. Book of Proverbs, chapter 15, in verse 28. It says, the mind of the righteous studieth to answer. So if you call yourself righteous and you're not studying, what are you doing? The Most High saying through the words of Solomon in the book of Proverbs, the heart of the righteous, the mind of the righteous studieth to answer, but the mouth of the wicked poured out evil things. Just like I just said, you could easily be slip of mouth. You could slip with your tongue and say some things. You can get somebody jammed up because you didn't fully understand that thing. You didn't study. You didn't watch videos. You didn't go to the elders pursuant to the book of Sirach. You didn't consider going to the elders and sitting at the elders' feet in order to get a full understanding of what you talking about. You don't even know what you're talking about. And that right there is that's being a murderer, man. You could murder somebody with your words, man. So the Most High says through Solomon, pursuant to the book of 15 and verse 28, Proverbs 15 and 28, the mind of the righteous studieth to answer, but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. Verse 29, and the Lord is far from the wicked, but heareth the way of the righteous. So when you study to rightly divide the word of the Lord, the Most High calls that thing righteous. And he's far away from the wicked, who just pours out things out of his mouth irresponsibly. That can lead a person down a path to destruction before they even get started, right? So let's go ahead on and let's get Psalms 111 and 10. Because when you study, the more you study, the more wisdom you get. And we're going to show you what wisdom is, because your studying and your being diligent, your diligence in the word of the Lord, it will bring you wisdom. And when you keep the commandments, it's a package deal, man. That commandments will give you more and more wisdom. if that's what you seek, right? So let's get the book of Psalms chapter 111, and we're going to start at verse 10. It's the book of Psalms chapter 111 and verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever. So what? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So when you fear the Lord, you're going to do what he tells you. You're going to hearken unto his word. When you hearken unto his word, that's automatic wisdom. When you are thinking of him throughout the day in your daily life, that's wisdom. That's just, you're not just willy-nilly. It says a good understanding. So if you seek for understanding of the scriptures, which this was a thing that we seek coming into this faith. When the Most High quickened your spirit and brought you into this truth, the first thing you did was you seek for understanding. Now you done got so far into this thing, you don't even seek understanding no more. You think you know every goddamn thing. Salakia is where it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and a good understanding have all they that do his commandments. So when you do his commandments, that's what gives you a good understanding. His praise endured forever, right? Now let's get this is a good one. Let's get 1 Kings chapter 4 and verse 29. I'm going to show you exactly where I'm going with this, Israel. We get the book of 1 Kings chapter 4 in verse 29. And Yahweh gave Solomon wisdom. What did he give Solomon? Wisdom and understanding, exceeding much, and largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the sea floor. So what does he mean when he says he gave him an enlargedness? He enlarged of heart. Your heart is your mind. He enlarged Solomon's brain. He enlarged his mind. That wisdom that he gave Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes, wisdom of Solomon, Proverbs, it enlarged the mind of Solomon. It made him smart. It gave him understanding, exceeding understanding. It says, even as the sand that is on the sea floor. He had so much understanding you couldn't even count the things that he knew. He knew about the solar system, well, not the solar system, because anyway, he knew about how the clouds and all that was formed, and the stars and everything in the air, and all these chemical balances and imbalances that he saw. Oh, I know this and I know that. All the stuff that he bragged about, man, Solomon been knowing all that, man. It was like the sand of the sea. You couldn't even count it, right? Well, how did he get that? He got that for wisdom. He strove for wisdom, right? 4:29, verse 30, it says, and Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the East Country. He was the smartest child in the East Country. It says, and all the wisdom of Egypt. So he was smarter than, Esau like to go into Egypt and say that they was the most vast civilization in the world. But what did the Lord say? The Lord said that Solomon, his wisdom and knowledge exceeded the whole country of Egypt. Verse 31. For he was wiser than all men. There was no man that was wiser than Solomon. No man. Nothing. There was no man smarter than that black man by the name of Solomon. And then they give you the names and all of that. But I was just pulling that to show you that what studying gives you. It gives you wisdom. This is how you're able to move about in the world, right? And that wisdom that we used to seek out, we need to get back to that, right? This is yo. You could tell this thing is almost over with. We too far in the game and be getting out of the truth and backing out and doing this and doing that. It's the fourth quarter. It ain't no reason to be lackadaisical up in this thing. There's no reason at all, right? We have to do better if we trying to get the hell up out of here, right? Right. So let's go ahead and get the book of Job, chapter 28 and verse 28. The book of Job, chapter 28 and verse 28. This is the book of Job, chapter 28 and verse 28. And unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And to depart from evil is understanding, right? So behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. So whenever you fear the Most High and you want to keep His commandments and you want to walk in His ways, that's when you automatically gonna start to get wisdom. You can't. Your pork chop pastor told you didn't have to do what the Lord said because Yahweh, Jesus Christ, what they call Jesus Christ, whose name is Yahweh Shai, came so that you didn't have to do that, which makes no sense at all, right? Now let's continue on. Let's go to Sirach chapter 1 and verse 26 as well. And the water Israel for being patient with me. It's been a little while since I've been on. And I pray that brothers and sisters are edified. It's the book of Sirach chapter 1 and verse 26. Now it says, if thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give her unto thee. So you'll find in the scriptures that the Most High calls wisdom a woman. So you know, in the scriptures. But the Most High chiefly is just basically saying, if you desire wisdom in this thing, right? If you desire to be better than the ancients in this thing, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give it unto thee. The Lord will give it to you freely if you start keeping the commandments. But again, how do we start getting this knowledge and understanding? It was by keeping the commandments. It was by studying. It was by desiring wisdom. Don't let these days, because they're so hard and you got bills and you may have marital issues, you may have family issues, you may have deaths in the family one by one. I'm talking about just raking at your spirit, man. You know, you may lose your job. You know, all these things, you have to remember to go back to the old ways. Stop going to people that's not in the truth asking for understanding. Stop speaking plainly without going into the scripts to get your understanding on how to get over your situation. Every answer, everything that you need to know is in the Most High's precepts. And if you remember that, you'll stay based and your mind will stay solid on where it needs to be. When you start forgetting about opening up the Bible and start seeking freedom from your situations, for lack of better words, and by going this way and that way, that's going to take you into a wide path, man. But we got to get back to that narrow path. We need to get back to that narrow path, because that's the path that's going to lead to the kingdom, not that wide path, man. You're gonna be destroyed, right? So let's get Sirach 6 and 37 as well. The book of Sirach chapter 6 and verse 37. The book of Sirach chapter 6 and verse 37. Let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and meditate continually in the commandments. So what did the Most High say? to meditate continually in the commandments. He shall establish thine mind and give thee wisdom at thine own desire. So all the wisdom you want, the Most High will give it to you freely if you meditate continually in His commandments. And if you notice, once you start keeping the commandments, it'll affix your mind in a way to where that wisdom could flow freely through your brain and freely through your mind. I've noticed that thing. Once you start doing this thing the way the Lord, once you follow that regimen, just like you follow damn Jenny Craig and all these different regiments that Esau give you when you leave the so-called hospital, that's the same way the Most High is giving you a regiment. And once you get on that regiment, it opens up certain cores in your mind, certain spiritual damn portals, for lack of better terms, to where you're able to receive this information. Same thing as fasting. When you fast, you're like an open portal for information. The Most High really can use that, and He tells you that that's a good way to pray. So prayer and fasting works very good together. It says, let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, the commandments, and meditate continually in His commandments. He shall establish thine mind, which is thine heart, and give thee wisdom at thine own desire. So this is simple. The Most High is telling you His regimen. He's giving you the breakdown of how to get what you achieve. These are things that we were doing at the beginning. This is where we need to continue to stay on. And if you done jumped off the boat a little bit, you need to get your ass back on the boat, right? Now, what's another thing that we did? A lot of us now, we don't do it as much. But let's get the book of Psalms chapter 55 and verse 17. Let's get the book of Psalms chapter 55 and verse 17. It says, evening and morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and He shall hear my voice, right? So yeah, set up a schedule, right? Set your clock, right? Make a day that you sit up and you pray unto the Most High. A lot of times we in this world and we like, yo, if I ask my boss for this, then he'll give me this, and then that'll get me where I need to go. No, you forgetting about prayer, man. You forgetting about you forgetting about righteous prayer too. Because now you start to pray for stuff that you want, not stuff that you need. You're not asking the Most High to give you what He feels like is sufficient for you, right? Let me give you a straight. Let me give you a Let's get an instance of somebody setting up a schedule, right? Not necessarily setting a clock, but getting on a set schedule, right? Let's get the book of Daniel, chapter 6 and verse 10. Now, I know some brothers and sisters was already on it. Let's get the book of Daniel, chapter 6. And this is not the only prophet that done this. Every prophet had their own way of praying, what time they prayed, how many times they prayed, and what was the instance of them praying, and what they did, right? So let me get the book of Daniel, chapter 6 and verse 10. It says, now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open, in his chamber toward Jerusalem. So Daniel knew to open his windows and pray towards the Holy Land. It says he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day. What? 3 times a day, and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime. So this was something that he did before, and he continued to do all the way until his death. He prayed 3 times a day on his knees facing towards Jerusalem. That's what we have to do. We have to find us a set schedule to start praying, right? And let that be between you and the Most High, right? Now we're going to go a little further, and we're going to actually get an instance about what this is. Going to say this again in another precept, but a lot of us read it and really don't get the understanding of it, right? So it says, let's get 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 17. Hope y'all can hear me good, Israel. Not for sure. My first time actually recording with a camcorder, so I don't know if it's picking it up or it's not. This is the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 17. It says, pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. Verse 18. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai concerning you. So when it says pray without ceasing, does that mean pray and run out of breath? Does that mean pray and have a heart attack praying? And sweat to death and look goofy? That's not what that means. So when he says pray without ceasing, that means continually throughout the day give thanks to the Most High. Pray to him and give thanks throughout the day, throughout every way you go, when you're moving around, anything that happens, be constant in your prayer. Constantly thank the Most High for everything he's doing. Constantly thank the Most High for your children and what they doing, if they doing good things. If you got a wife and she's in the truth and she's keeping the commandments and she's a Proverbs 31, you thank the Most High for all these things, man. You also thank him for the bad, because you know that things have to get bad before it gets good. You know these things, man. The Most High says continually pray. That's what it means when he says pray without ceasing. It doesn't mean run out of breath and your eyes roll back in your head because you used up all your breath, you know what I'm saying, talking. This is not saying in the book of Matthew, the 6th chapter, that the Most High does not like vain babbling. If you pray without ceasing, is that not vain babbling, if that's your understanding of what that says? No, you continuously give thanks and prayer. It says that in the next verse 18 gives you the answer. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God and Yahweh Shai concerning you. Right? All praises to the Most High. All praise to the Most High, right? So from that, let's get Genesis 49 and 1. Because when you first came into this truth, you started understanding what brotherhood was all about. I remember I used to watch brothers teaching, and I used to just see the brotherhood. I used to see so many men that was on one accord. In the streets, I never saw nothing like that. I was never a part of that. I've always been dolo. Always been a solo dolo kind of brother, man. But watching brothers teach and being in this truth and being quickened gave me the understanding and showed me how. Doggone dogs out there. It showed me how to actually have a brotherhood, right? To actually know what it looks like and to be on one accord, right? So let's get the book of Genesis chapter 49 and verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I might tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Verse 2. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Right? So, it's a commandment by Jacob by our forefather for all the children of Israel, all his sons to gather together, right? And the Most High commanded us to gather together. This is a beautiful thing in Israel when brothers can get together and teach the word of the Most High and be on one accord. Those are the things that you can fall out of this truth when you start separating yourself from that commandment. The strength is in the brotherhood. The strength is in the sisterhood. If you can't be around brothers and sisters, you'll find yourself bugged out. There's a slew of brothers and sisters that is bugged out because they by themselves 24/7. They call themselves individualites. They don't have a sound understanding on anything. They listen to this person, then that person. Then they go to this person, then they go to that person. And then, their understanding becomes convoluted with doctrine of many teachers. Don't the scriptures say be mindful not to have many teachers, roughly paraphrasing? Right? So let's get Ezekiel 37 and 16 for that. Salakia. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37 and verse 16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph and the stick of Ephraim, because Ephraim is the head of Joseph. Ephraim and Manasseh, but Ephraim is the head of northern kingdom. It says, and for all the house of Israel his companions, right? So Judah is the head of the southern kingdom and Ephraim is the head of the northern kingdom. But to the point is verse 17, and join them one to another onto one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. So yes, we're supposed to, our job is to go out into the highways and hedges and bring together the southern kingdom and northern kingdom unto one stick. That's the whole point. That's the whole commandment, for us to gather together, for us to come together in these last days and be set apart. Right? So let's get Baruch 4 and 37. Right? So that's one thing we forgot. It's one thing we have to continue to do. We have to continue to have brotherhood, and we have to continue to gather together because it's a commandment. Right? So let's get Baruch. Chapter 4, and I'll start at verse 37. It says, lo, thy sons, whom thou sent away, they come gathered together from the east and to the west by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the glory of God. So the Holy One is Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai. Now we know that that's coming into Israel, Israel being gathered together for the king, for the wilderness and going into the kingdom. But it also goes into, when you stay in Atlanta, when you stay in Alabama, when you stay in different parts, hey, when you come together for a feast day, that's the Holy One of Israel bringing us together. When you make it there, you make it to that tabernacles, and you make it to these different places, and you gather together and get all mashed up with your brothers and the sisters over there chopping it up, and the brothers over there chopping it up. Man, all of those things are commandment unto the Most High, and that promotes brotherhood and sisterhood and gathering together. When you become an individualite and you're doing your own thing, that's when your mind becomes idle, and then you start creating your own understanding of what you read. You're not even getting 2 or 3 witnesses so you can come with a sound understanding. You're just winging it and doing your own thing. But the Most High said, gather together, man. Gather for these feast days, these new moons. Stop missing new moons and feast days, man. Stop missing holy days all the time. Stop missing camp all the time. If you ain't got a good reason, stop missing it, man. Stop not being a part of the sisterhood if you a sister. Oh, I don't want to talk to sister such and such. Well, why not? Because even if you don't like her and you wouldn't deal with her in the world, that doesn't mean you can't deal with her through the spirit and in this truth. Because you got something in common when you're dealing with it that way. But when your mind is carnal and you're thinking about it in a worldly way, heck no, you're not going to get along with nobody. But when you come together in this truth, that's the only thing that binds us together. A lot of us brothers probably wouldn't be dealing with each other in the streets. Oh man, I ain't dealing with that, man, dude right there, man. Nah, man. But in this faith, that's what binds us together. The Holy Spirit, the separate spirit is what we all have in common. And we're separate from everything else, but that makes us closer together. Understand that, right? So let's get I'm about to start winding down, Israel. Let me get Zephaniah 2:1 just to add on to that. Again, I hope brothers and sisters was edified. Again, it's my first time actually using not my phone, so bear with me. It's the book of Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, gather yourselves together. Yea, gather yourself together, O nation not desired. Because they hate us, man. Everybody else hates us, man. We should not have anybody that's walking around hating their brother or hating their sisters, the sisterhood or the brotherhood. We got enough people in the world that hate us. We don't have to start hating each other for the same thing. We got enough. It's over with. Stop adding to the flames, man. Start loving and preferring your brothers and sisters, man. Right? It says, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of Yahweh the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you, man. So gather yourselves together, man, before the Most High come back and roast you, man. Stop hanging with the so-called YT, man, and these other nations, man. Hey, the Most High ain't playing, man, in these days, man. The Most High is not playing with us, man. Now let's get the book of Romans chapter 12 and verse 10. Baba Kashah. It's the book of Romans chapter 12, and I believe I want verse 10. It says, but be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love, man. So yeah, you got to be kind and affectionate towards your brother through the spirit, man. You got to be kind and affectionate towards your sister through the spirit, man. You know what I'm saying? Again, we get away from a lot of these things, man. We start watching certain things on TV. We start straying away from the scriptures, man. And we start forgetting why we in this thing. And we start hating. And we start not loving each other, man. And we stop remembering what got us here in these last days, man. It says, with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another, man. So the Most High commands us to prefer one another, man. Over these other nations, man. Over these other people, man. Prefer your own people. Prefer your brother. Prefer your own sisters from the southern and northern kingdom, man. Prefer your own brothers, man. Stop going to work making friends with niggas that ain't even in this truth. Stop, quit making friends with everybody that they don't even have nothing going on. They can't teach you nothing. And they don't even really like you. They just work with you. You walking around with fringes on. They don't know what it is. They think you in a cult. Man, prefer one another, man. Be affectionate towards one another, and stop treating each other crazy, man. Okay? We're gonna get a few more precepts. We're gonna call it. Let me get the book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 4 and verse 9. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 9. It reads, "But as touching brotherhood, love ye, need not Salakia. But as touching brotherly love, ye need not that I write unto you, for ye yourselves are taught of God to love one another." Now, where is that found? That's found in the book of Leviticus, man. Right? To love each other, to love thy brother in your heart, man. Love him in your mind. So, Paul is telling you, hey, it ain't even no need for me to tell you, because your God already told you what to do. Right? Now, let's get Sirach chapter 25 and verse 1, Baba Kashar. I'll end this thing off in Sirach. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1. It says, in 3 things, right? So that's a complete number of things, right? I was beautified. So this is the Most High speaking. He says, and stood up beautiful both before Yahweh and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, and a man and a wife that agree together, man. Right? So, the Most High loves the unity of brethren, which is the point I was trying to get, but everything else is beautiful as well. But the unity of brethren, man, remember that's what got you in this thing, man. Watching brothers teach, watching brothers unite, and bring out the scriptures, bring out the law, statutes, and commandments, man, teaching you how to break down, different lessons and classes, right? So all of these things we must return back to in these last days, and we must return back to our first love. I hope I wasn't all over the place, and if I edify anybody today, then I did my job, right? So once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. I'm Brother LAMAK of the Servants Assembly, and I want to say